Reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A good evening from the world headquarters of GB News. This is Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. The weekend starts here, the sun is shining. Bring your own drinks, the admission is free. On tonight's show, has Nigel Farage let down his own voters by flying to the US? Or is he proving what a real friend looks like? Is Sir Keir Starmer proving his critics wrong and smashing it as Prime Minister? Following disorder in Leeds, should the military police Britain's streets? And is it time for the BBC to axe scandal hit Strictly? To fall out over those topics and more tonight, my Friday A-Team business and geopolitics guru, Dr. Roger Giewolb, Fleet Street and radio legend, Mike Porky Parry, and fearless broadcaster and journalist, someone who can't be cancelled, Emma Wolfe. Also tonight, Donald Trump's opponents have been laughing about his attempted assassination. So much for the caring left. I'll be dealing with these vile hypocrites in no uncertain terms in my Friday feeling monologue. Plus, Biden will be gone in days, my reaction. Straight after the news headlines and Sophia Wensler.
Mark, thank you. Good evening from the GB Newsroom. It's just gone 8 o'clock. Your top story this hour. The boss of cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike, which is responsible for worldwide IT outages, admits it could be some time before all systems are back up and running. More than 3,000 flights at many of the world's airports have been grounded since early this morning, with airlines unable to complete check-ins. Banks, supermarkets, most GP clinics and even major TV and radio broadcasters are among the many who've been knocked offline. Those travelling by rail are also affected, with TransPennine Express, Thameslink and Southern among those who've reported disruption. CrowdStrike CEO says it's not related to a security incident or a cyber attack. Police have now made several arrests after violent disorder broke out in a Leeds suburb last night, with more expected in the coming days. Vehicles were set ablaze and the police car overturned late last night, with residents warned to stay indoors as helicopters and a large police presence responded to the chaos. It's understood the riots were linked to local children being taken into care. In other news, a woman believed to be from Sudan drowned after an overcrowded migrant boat got into trouble in the English Channel overnight. 5 people were pulled from the water and a further 86 others rescued by a French patrol vessel at around 1 o'clock this morning. They were all taken to Calais. A spokesperson for Number 10 says the incident underlines the stark reality of how dangerous the crossings are. In the US, Donald Trump pledged to bring back the American dream as he took to the stage last night to formally accept the Republican nomination for president. Speaking at the Republican National Convention for the first time since he narrowly avoided an assassination attempt, the former president struck a unifying tone, promising to lead for all Americans. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has accused Donald Trump of presenting a dark vision to the US in his Republican National Convention speech. The US president also said he looked forward to returning to the campaign trail next week and winning at the ballot box in November. It comes as 7 more fellow Democrats urged him to end his campaign, fearing that it could cost the party dearly in the November 5th election. And health alerts are in place across the country as the summer sun finally arrived today. Experts are urging people to take precautions, with warnings in place in many parts of England until 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Today has officially been the hottest day of the year so far, with a temperature of 31.9 degrees recorded at St James's Park in central London. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Is there any hope that we could have a week of boring news? You know, just a few days in which politicians talk about interest rates. Maybe some sheep escape their field in Wales, causing a bit of traffic on the A road. Or where the worst crime to speak of is over-enthusiastic teenagers drinking cider in the park as they break up for the school holidays. Would it be nice to have a few days where nothing bloody happens? But this is 2024, which is starting to play out like the most overwritten Hollywood movie that you've ever seen, with so many plot twists and unlikely incidents, the audience can scarcely believe their eyes. You've got an octogenarian president publicly embarrassing himself on a daily basis, with the calls for him to step down now becoming deafening. This guy has got days left. But Joe Biden's imminent departure from high office, amazingly, isn't even the biggest story of the week, as his political rival and the man now odds-on to win the keys to the White House in November, Donald Trump, suffers an attempted assassination. Democrat supporters, so-called liberals, normally condemn right-wing conspiracy theories, many of which, like the lab leak theory for COVID, turned out to be probably true. Well, the left themselves have now been indulging in their own wild conspiracy theories, suggesting that this assassination was staged and even potentially organised by Republican Party insiders. Take a listen.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet. What is the actual injury to Donald Trump's ear that's under that bandage? Shouldn't we know that by now? It's weird. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of curiosity about it, you know, in the sort of media world, you know, my profession. It's weird, right?
I thought it was magnificently staged. It was professionally done. It almost looked real.
Am I the only one seeing this? Trump's dream comes true. He actually gets one of his cultists to try to kill without telling them to kill, and thus making himself culpable. And the guy threatens McCarthy and Raskin.
What a bunch of sick ghouls. The attempted assassination being staged is a pretty bold claim, given the fact that a tragic bystander lost their life. Donald Trump does want to be president, but I don't think he's going to start killing people to make it happen. How about this corker from political commentator Joy Reid, who you saw in the previous video? And in this instance, comparing Donald Trump's attempted assassination to Joe Biden's mild case of COVID. You couldn't make it up.
This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing?
And many of these caring, sharing liberals have been busy online and in podcasts and on talk shows laughing about this attempted assassination.
Right before Melania gave her public statement, she was heard yelling into a phone, "You had one job." Too soon?
We don't miss those! One shot at greatness to be mentioned in the history books! And you missed the shot?
I haven't even had a second to process. You're telling me somebody finally had the balls to bring a pew-pew, and he missed! We were a second away! We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed!
I'm not saying that I would ever try to assassinate a presidential candidate. All I'm saying is that if I went through all of that trouble, I wouldn't miss.
Blimey, even film star and comedian Jack Black didn't see the funny side when his bandmates said that his birthday wish, that's right, his birthday wish was that next time the shooter would finish the job and kill Donald Trump. These, by the way, are the good people, folks. The be kind crowd. Do keep up. Of course, if you laugh at an attempted assassination or even wish that it had been successfully executed, you are anything but kind. You are cruel. You are dangerous. You are violent. You are a total hypocrite. And you obviously have utter contempt for democracy. If the woke elite had their way, they'd probably like to limit who has the ability to vote altogether. We can't have the great unwashed expressing their deplorable opinions, can we? Now, it's my view that Donald Trump is an extremely flawed figure, and I'm not sure that he's fit for high office. I far prefer Florida's Ron DeSantis. But if it's a choice between a walking cadaver like Joe Biden and then Donald Trump, what are you going to do? Plus, Donald Trump will end wokery, seek peace in Ukraine and close the southern border, which would be nice. But irrational Trump derangement syndrome reached its nadir, with commentators furious about the size of the plaster on his ear, suggesting that it was oversized to get more attention and sympathy. I doubt that. If Donald Trump wanted to make a point, he could have given it the full British Museum Egyptian mummy, couldn't he? Now, accepting the Republican nomination to run for president, Donald Trump addressed his own party's conference this week in an unending speech that was longer than a night out with Paul Gascoigne in the 90s. Here's what he had to say. Donald Trump, not Gaza.
I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Together we will save this country, we will restore the republic, and we will usher in the rich and wonderful tomorrows that our people so truly deserve. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before.
In the end, Donald Trump is like one of those characters in a computer game that gets stronger when you attack them. They tried to impeach him, they tried to jail him, they tried to bankrupt him, and ultimately they tried to kill him. End result, he will be the 47th President of the United States. Supposedly woke liberals have been chuckling about this violent attack on Donald Trump, but in November, he will have the last laugh. OK, let's go to my Friday A-team. I'm delighted to welcome business and geopolitics guru, Dr. Roger Giewolb, Fleet Street and radio legend Mike Porky Parry, and the fearless broadcaster and journalist, someone who simply can't and won't be cancelled, Emma Wolf. Emma, is it OK to make jokes about Donald Trump's attempted assassination?
No, it's absolutely not. I thought his speech was fabulous. I thought it was inspiring. I thought it was actually really moving. And he will get in November, and I cannot wait for the hissy fits. I cannot wait for the meltdown, for the collective nervous breakdown of the lefty, liberal, be kind mob. I cannot wait. He's absolutely brilliant. Who loves Britain? Trump loves Britain. Who hates Britain? Biden hates Britain. Who came on GB News the night that our Queen, our beloved late Queen, died? Donald Trump came on this channel. What do people think they're doing, supporting someone who is, as you say, extremely unwell? Biden's not going to make it, through the next few days. But in terms of building a special relationship, we should be looking to Trump, not worrying about Joe Biden.
Have you had a Damascene conversion? Because I wouldn't have you down on paper as a Trump supporter. You're not the MAGA type, are you, Emma Wolf?
I am. I want to make this country great again, and I think he's absolutely bang on.
Have you always supported him?
I like people who stand up for the truth. I like people who speak to real people. I like people who are honest and outspoken.
Isn't Donald Trump a notorious liar?
Of course, there are things like, look, you're not going to agree with all the people all the time, but you know what? I'm OK with disagreeing with people. The point about Donald Trump, yes, he actually says quite a lot of things about women and about abortion rights and things like that, which I totally disagree with. But I agree with him about making his country great again, putting his people first, getting control of borders, not having uncontrolled immigration. I agree with him on the economy. I think he's a bright man. I think he's a very, very smart man. Look, and I thought that his true colours came through in the assassination attempt. Look at a man who's just been shot almost through the head, and his instinct, and it wasn't staged and it wasn't rehearsed, his instinct was to leap up and raise his fist and fight back.
But, Mike Parry, the election in November shouldn't be about who suffered an attempted assassination, who was brave, who waved their fist. This is about policy. Why are we about to have a new president based upon the fact that he was quite brave the other day? Why is that important?
Well, it will be because of the enormous contrast between Donald Trump getting up seconds after nearly being assassinated, raising his fight, fight, fight. That illustrates his natural instincts. That's what he's thinking in his head. While Joe Biden, at the same time, can't seem to find his way down the stairs off Air Force One, the most important aeroplane in the world, which carries the nuclear codes in case anything goes wrong. The left have always said, we're kind and compassionate, and the right, you know, are nasty and vicious. One left-wing commentator in this country this week actually tried to mock Donald Trump by saying, a friend of mine, this is a female commentator, had a worse injury when she was having a bikini wax than Donald Trump suffered when somebody fired at him. I mean, that is hideous hatred of a person just because they've got different political views to you. It's disgusting, and we don't speak up enough about it, because if we do, we're seen then, endorsing the fact that we're nasty and not nice, and the left are caring and kind. I think now, I've got a piece here, look, this is on the front of a newspaper this week. Donald Trump has now become a messiah. And he's become a messiah because a lot of people who are of the Christian faith do follow Donald Trump. And this says how surviving a bullet made Trump the American messiah, and what they believe, and I have to think about this myself, is who told Donald Trump to turn his head a fraction a millisecond before the assassin fired the first bullet? Was that divine intervention? And that's what a lot of people in America are now thinking.
Mike is invoking the will of God here, that actually God is a MAGA supporter. He's up there in heaven with his long, flowing white beard and a red MAGA hat, Roger.
Yeah, of course God is a MAGA supporter. But to try, you know, to try to look at this slightly differently, I'm very saddened by the increase in polarity and how nasty, and I'm not going to get into left, right, there's just some really nasty...
But wait a minute, don't you think there's a lot of pearl clutching about these Donald Trump jokes? I mean, that's what they are, they're jokes. Whatever happened to free speech?
Well, I mean, people can make jokes, and there are all sorts of memes floating around.
Well, this poor guy has had to cancel his music tour, Jack Black, because one of his bandmates said that next time I hope that the shooter finishes the job. It was a joke. Why have the right lost their sense of humour?
I don't think there's anything humorous about that. And it almost borders on breaking the law and inciting murder. You know, it took me 2 seconds from seeing Trump shot to turn to people that I was with and say, I'm going to count to 30. And some son of a bitch is going to say he set this up.
Can I apologise for the X-rated language? It's a family show. We've all had a drink. Do calm down.
I'm very sorry.
By the way, can I just explain that it's a hot day today and Roger's been hydrating all afternoon.
Roger, can I...
But anyway, finish your point about SOB briefly.
We only had 13 bottles between...
Well, this is it. Briefly, finish your point about SOB.
Well, son of a gun. I was carried away because I'm so angry. But I literally said, I'm going to count to 30. And people are going to say he staged this. Wow. That's how bad it is. And also, I think, you know, I'm British and American, and maybe I see things a little bit differently. And all the shows I'm on and all the talking I've been doing about this, people here are looking at this through British eyes, and American viewpoints are rather slightly different. We and our political infighting here are a Tea Party compared to how things happen.
Very briefly, Mike, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is that the woke battle goes on. One of the reasons I think the conspiracy theories are now building up is because the head of the Secret Service is a woman. And that has now triggered a ridiculous woke reaction in America saying, oh, you're only blaming the Secret Service because the head of the Secret Service is a woman, some of the agents were women. And in fact, Donald Trump, the first thing he said after being freed from the terror and the trauma of nearly being assassinated was, thank you to the Secret Service.
Indeed. A couple of seconds on this. Are you offended by criticism of female operatives protecting Donald Trump? Is that sexist?
No, it's not sexist. Look, brave people come in male, female.
Do you think the people protecting the president should be bigger than the president and male?
No.
No.
Okay.
But the point is...
Just brave. OK.
In answer to what you say, it's her sloped roof comment, not her...
There you go. That's right. That's right. This is, of course, the head of the security services who said that they couldn't put an officer, on the sloping roof because of health and safety. In case he fell off, you couldn't make it up. OK, folks, we've got lots more to get through in a busy show. Next up, is Sir Keir Starmer proving his critics wrong and smashing it as Prime Minister? Plus, has Nigel Farage let down his own voters in Clacton by flying to the US? Or is he just proving what real loyalty looks like? We'll debate that next.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Khloe Kardashian has come under fire after posting a picture of her 6-year-old daughter wearing a full face of makeup.
Yeah, the reality TV star said the youngster was participating in a dance recital and that wasn't an everyday occurrence.
So this morning we're asking, is it ever OK to let children wear makeup?
Well, joining us now is journalist Julie Cook. So, Julie, it's a child wearing full rouge, bright red lipstick, hair tied back, looking very, very stylised, very much, I think, like a young adult. Is this really the sort of thing we should be doing with small children?
Oh, I think it's absolutely fine. I mean, first of all, in Khloe Kardashian's case, it was a dance recital, so it was very much a kind of performance element to it. She said herself in her post, it wasn't something they do every day. She was taking part in a dance activity. So, you know, I think she's vindicated on that front. But I've let my daughter play with makeup since she was 3. When she was 3, she showed a distinct interest in my makeup palettes, going through my stuff. She's 10 now, and while I don't let her wear a full face like a drag queen, I do let her wear, you know, a bit of mascara on a weekend if she wants to. I don't see any harm in it.
Clearly, if you're a child of a Kardashian who's paid millions of dollars to endorse cosmetics, you know, that's part of the fabric of their family. My concern, though, Julie, is putting those pictures on social media where people can see them. We live in an age now where, you know, wrong-uns are scouring the internet all the time.
A lot of girls do enjoy putting makeup on. It's almost like a self-expression thing. It's like painting on a canvas. They're just trying to be a bit artistic. I don't think it's necessarily as sort of sinister as we're making out. And I think as long as you're not posting pictures everywhere or putting them at risk of harm, I don't see any danger.
The People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nigel Farage flies to the United States. We'll debate that in just a moment. But first, the respected political journalist Dan Hodges has heaped praise on our new PM. saying on Twitter that Sir Keir Starmer looks like he's been Prime Minister for about a decade.
God.
So is the right political nightmare coming true as he cuts an impressive and dignified figure on the world stage, engaging with Emmanuel Macron, Joe Biden and Volodymyr Zelensky? Is Sir Keir Starmer doing a brilliant job as Prime Minister? Is Starmer smashing it? Mike Parry.
I couldn't believe it when I read Dan saying that, but Dan's not the only one. There's a few other right-wing commentators who suddenly see Keir Starmer with his new glasses on and his nicely tailored suit and goes to his first international conference and looks the part. That's all very well. But, excuse me, could we examine the King's speech in detail and find out what his plans are to mortify this country with red tape, with ridiculous economic policy,
taxes,
letting that lunatic, and he is a lunatic in my view, Ed Miliband, deciding on energy policy
with the ukulele
in this country,
letting David Lammy loose on the world stage.
I mean, did he not work out that if Trump wins and David Lammy is Foreign Secretary, all very well for the Republicans to say, oh no, don't worry, because Donald is always forgiving of people. No, he's not forgiving of people in Europe, because he has made it absolutely clear, unless you start paying your dues, I ain't going to protect you. And David Lammy is the worst example of anti-Americanism in Europe.
And the King said that this is the first time a monarch has ever announced 40 policies nobody had ever talked about before.
Well, not only that, but normally there's only 25 bills in a King's speech.
Yeah, I mean, some of it, by the way, was a residual, was a rollover from the previous government, worth pointing out, and some of it was very sensible, including the ban on puberty blockers. But Roger Gewolb, Labour have momentum, don't they? First of all, you've got Starmer on the world stage, cuts an impressive figure. He looks like a statesman already. Plus, Labour are serious about growing the economy, and Ed Miliband is going to turn Britain into a green energy superpower.
Wait a minute. I mean, is this a test? I don't think Starmer looks like a world statesman. And
do you not think he was quite dignified abroad this week?
He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything.
I was reading the body language between him and the world leaders, and I thought that they seem to engage with him.
He never says anything. No. And Ed Miliband in charge of energy, did you see him with the ukulele singing, blowing
during the election?
In front of, oh my God, you know. David Lammy, as you say, I mean...
that's the Foreign Secretary who's spoken ill of Donald Trump in the past.
Absolutely.
So you were happy with Sir Keir Starmer hosting a load of European melts like Emmanuel Macron at Blenheim Palace?
Yeah.
But
well, I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not.
Unravelling all of Brexit, which 17 million people voted for. You were happy
Well, I'm certainly not happy. You see, my problem is I detest...
We'll take loads of asylum seekers. We can return a few immigrants, illegal immigrants.
And he signed us up to take...
I'll be honest with you. I mean,
Who gave him that authority?
I'm on record.
The first few days of this...
He signed us up to take our fair share of people that we weren't even taking...
Wait a minute, that hasn't... We've not... Roger, we've not signed up to take fair share of anything just yet. I mean, this was an EU conference that was in the diary.
Let him nationalise the railways, fix the trains so the fares go down and up, and then I'll start to give them some credit.
The deal is, we send 140 people back to France, and they send 90,000 the other way.
Sure.
You know, that's...
No, of course, by the way, Emma, let me...
millions have we paid them?
Let me be clear, because what you've enjoyed there from me is a little serving of devil's avocado, because as you may be aware, I'm deeply concerned about Ed Miliband's policies.
On sourdough.
Right, well, maybe a fried egg on top, but...
Mark, I shudder when I see Angela Rayner running amok in number 10, chairing cabinet meetings. And
so we can agree on...
This is appalling. Did you see the socialism in the King's...
I'm concerned about the policy platform of Labour, but you can't deny that Keir Starmer cut a statesman-like figure this week.
No, I don't think so.
Every time he's with Angela Rayner... Yeah. She looks like she's going to have him for breakfast in 5 minutes.
My goodness.
Watch this space.
First, so I don't know where you get statesman, Keir Starmer.
Where do you get statesman?
He's just released a load of policies in this country.
They're relieved. Macron, people like that are relieved. Biden is relieved that we've got Starmer, but no.
OK. Well, there you go. Look,
remember who he is.
I'll be honest, my Friday friends are in disagreement with me on that one, but let's move on. Now, what is your favourite blood sport? Bullfighting, badger baiting, fox hunting? Mine is Nigel Farage doing battle with left-wing journalists.
Wonderful.
And we've had some beautiful examples this week. Here is the BBC's former eye-roller-in-chief, Emily Maitlis, showing a bit of an emotional blind spot following the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Take a listen.
And is that the sense you've got, that he's having a tough time right now?
He nearly died.
Do you think he's having a tough time right now?
He nearly died.
Pretty awkward. Meanwhile, Channel 4 News, whose only photo of Donald Trump in their office is on a dartboard, were keen to know whether Nigel Farage is going to meet the former president, Donald Trump, and when.
Nigel Farage, have you seen Donald Trump yet?
No, I haven't.
Are you going to?
Yes.
When's your audience with him?
I don't know yet.
But you're here to see him tonight?
I am.
And
Which way we go?
did he ask you to come?
I'm here.
But did he ask you? Were you invited?
What's it got to do with you?
Should you not be with your constituents?
What's it got to do with you?
It's only a question.
There's an 8-day week. As long as I work 7 of them, we're okay.
Okay, and you're here because you're still a big Trump fan?
I think peace comes through strength, not through weakness.
Powerful stuff. But is Nigel Farage's decision to fly to the United States a betrayal of his voters in Clacton? Does his trip to America suggest he's more keen on getting Donald Trump re-elected than sorting out antisocial behaviour and an excess of dog poo at Bishop's Park in his constituency? Could his focus on US politics diminish Nigel's ambitions for a political revolution here? Or is it important that members of Parliament have an interest in politics abroad as well as at home? Emma Wolfe.
Well, look, of course, you know, with Nigel Farage, you get an interesting but not a conventional MP. He's inspirational to many. Loads of MPs are absent at different times. Loads of MPs miss votes for various reasons. He's flown out to America. You know what he's doing? He's actually building the special relationship that we're meant to have with the next president of the US. He's also seeing a mate. He's seeing a friend who's just been shot. This is absolutely ludicrous, being pursued about whether he should be at home in Clacton. You know, plenty of MPs barely go back to their constituents.
Will voters in Clacton, though, worry about the messaging and the optics of this, Mike?
I think the voters in Clacton will say, thank you, Nigel Farage, for getting across the Atlantic and trying to build bridges with the man who's going to be the next president of the United States of America. Donald Trump has already indicated that he's, you know, looking at the relationship, the special relationship with Europe, because none of us are doing enough, including this country. Keir Starmer did the old, you know, get-out clause, 2.5% when circumstances allow. That's the get-out.
I know.
So we've not committed ourselves to the 2.5% even, right? So I think that if Nigel Farage has got a very close relationship with Donald Trump, which he has, that is an incredibly strong card for this country to play. The fact that he's there for 2 days, but 363 days a year he spends in Clacton, the people of Clacton should say he's our hero. He could build new relationship with the most powerful country in the world, and we need that.
Do you think that Donald Trump and Nigel Farage are closer than Starmer and Trump ever will be, Roger?
Well, I know them both, and I know that they are. They're very close, and I think this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I mean, you know, just as Trump gets attacked for whatever he does, they attack Nigel. If it was anybody else, they would say, as Emma and Mike have said, look how wonderful, going over there to build this special relationship and extend his sympathies for a man who's just been shot. But because it's Nigel, they attack him. It's ridiculous. He's building more goodwill for this country with someone who the current government of this country has dumped all over repeatedly and insulted. And he's a big enough man, Trump, to let that go and move on. Yeah. And Nigel's the only one that's repairing it. I'm sure that Nigel is saying to Trump, they may be a couple of jerks, but give them a chance, etc., for the way they spoke.
I totally agree. And Roger as well. David Lammy and the Foreign Office in this country...
And Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, have done more to destroy our relationship with Trump.
Yeah, but
do you remember...
One at a time. Emma, make your point. I'll come back.
Took part in Trump Baby. They flew
horrible
the
balloon.
inflatable pink balloon of Donald Trump above the Houses of Parliament back in 2019. What was all that about?
Okay, I agree.
That's not diplomatic or statesmanlike.
But David Lammy, who's the Foreign Secretary of this country, and the Foreign Office and the British government would have to work through diplomatic channels for about 6 weeks to get an audience with the President of the United States of America. Nigel Farage can literally
get on a plane
to Miami, knock on the door at Mar-a-Lago and be invited in for dinner. Why would you not absolutely cash in on a relationship like that between a British MP and the President of the United States?
Well, I'm sure we'll return to that topic, but next up, following disorder in Leeds, should the military police Britain's streets? That's right, should we send in the army? Also, as worldwide computer systems shut down, are we now too reliant on the internet? Is it time to get back to good old pen and paper? We'll debate that next.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Humid and cloudy through Saturday, but as we head into Sunday, it's looking mostly dry but considerably fresher than today. That's because weather fronts are moving in from the north and west, and behind that we've got much cooler air arriving through Saturday. Before then, though, a humid night to come for much of England and Wales, as well as some eastern areas of Scotland too. Quite a lot of cloud building in from the west, but across the eastern areas it should stay clear and dry through much of the night. And temperatures here not falling much below 17 or 18 degrees. Further north and west, though, slightly fresher. We've already got that fresher air arriving into the far north and west by tomorrow morning. So after a spell of rain overnight across the Western Isles, it will slowly start to brighten up through the day. The rain not arriving to eastern areas of Scotland till later on in the day, but a wet start to the day across Northern Ireland. Temperatures only around 15 degrees here first thing. North East England, a dry start to the day. Much of eastern and central areas of England will see some sunshine first thing, but that sunshine will turn hazier as the day goes on, and that's because this weather front will continue its journey eastwards through the day. Now, it does bring a risk of some very heavy downpours, particularly across western areas through the day. It's unlikely to arrive into the east until at least Saturday evening, so you should stay dry across eastern areas through much of Saturday, but it's still going to feel quite humid out there, and temperatures across East Anglia in particular could still reach the high 20s. By contrast, across western areas, we're down into the high teens, so a very different feel by the end of the day on Saturday, and that feel will continue into Sunday. Once the rain clears slowly away from the east, actually there's going to be quite a lot of brightness around on Sunday. It should stay dry for most of us, and temperatures will be much more comfortable, much closer to average. However, looking ahead to the start of next week, there's the return of some more unsettled weather with temperatures below average. Bye-bye.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, a collapse in global computer systems has hit industries across the world, with almost 1,400 flights cancelled and banking, public transport, healthcare and shops in the UK affected. As long as TK Maxx stay open, I'll be all right. How do they do it with their prices? Cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike says a defect in one of its software updates hit Windows operating systems. Well, I don't know why they haven't done something simple, like unplugged the whole of the internet, waited 10 seconds and plugged it back in again. However, does this crisis prove that we're now living in a world which is too digital? Are we a hostage to fortune to this kind of IT collapse? Is the world now too reliant on the internet. Is it time to bring back paper and pen and filing systems? Roger Gewall.
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is very much like the millennium bug, for those people old enough to remember it, when in 2000 the whole world was ready to fall apart for a very long time because some geek, probably who doesn't own a belt for his trousers, some weedy geek.
Lives with his mother.
Lives with his mother.
But it never happened, did it?
It didn't happen, but they anticipated because he decided it would be clever to express the year with 2 digits rather than 4. So the year 2000, he left off the 2 noughts at the end, and everybody thought the planet was going to fall apart, which, as Mike says, it didn't. This is a similar thing. What happened here, which is interesting because the mainstream media, all the science and tech editors are not even reporting this, but I don't know why. Maybe Microsoft doesn't want their name mentioned or something, but it's dead simple. It's called a kernel. So a piece of code in an upgrade, a security upgrade from this large security company, the aptly named CrowdStrike, was omitted or written wrong, and that caused all programs that run Microsoft 365 from the deepest parts of that Microsoft 365 program to go into a loop where it tells the computer to restart itself. And that's really all that happened. Every time these computers shut down and restarted, in the middle of the process, it would tell it to restart again. They went into a loop, which meant they could never connect with anything. That's why everything crashed all around the world.
But Emma Wolf, it proves that we do too much on computers these days.
I was laughing like a drain this morning to wake up to this news, to watch the entire world, all these grown-ups completely paralysed and panicking. Apart from healthcare, of course, anything that affects hospitals is not funny. It is very, very serious.
Nor is it funny for people missing their aeroplanes.
An entire world of internet-addicted grown-ups tweeting things like, we're using pen and paper. Ooh, but grown-up big people pen and paper, says the person who uses pen and paper every single day. And you know what? I could still function this morning. I could still do my radio debates and things with my pen and my big grown-up
Is it better? Is it better, pen and paper? Is it better?
Of course it is.
Oh, Emma, you couldn't run an airport, I'm afraid.
Why have I written 10 books and the rest of the world have spent the last...
I tried to read your notes, by the way. I tried to read your notes. I couldn't make head nor tail of them. You should have been a GP.
But you can't run an airport. What terrifies me, when I woke up this morning, same as you, I was
not
terrified.
in the same place, I hope.
No.
You'll get tongues wagging.
Definitely not. Stop the rumours. No, what I'm saying is that the people who would like to smash the Western world forever, and we know who they are, including that little fat guy who runs North Korea, he sees that one little computer glitch suddenly brings down the Western world, and he will this morning have got hold of his top scientist and said, do it again, and next time make sure there is no recovery. That's how vulnerable I think the Western world is to a computer blow-up, because, for instance, we haven't been told yet whether or not the nuclear codes, which Joe Biden's in charge of, Joe Biden's brain isn't even working, he's got nuclear codes, supposing the computer that went down was looking after the nuclear codes.
Well, I know I'd rather that a computer was running America at the moment, but I take your point. OK, folks, now riots have broken out on the streets of Leeds following a disturbance involving social services and children. Dozens of police units swarmed a residential street in Hare Hills after groups of people gathered in the area, overturning a police car and smashing it up with scooters, prams and bikes. Many of the rioters live-streamed the chaotic scenes on TikTok and Facebook Live. In various videos, large groups of people can be seen rioting, shouting and smashing up the aforementioned police car. A group of youths can be seen smashing the windows and throwing objects at it, whilst officers sat inside. In footage from later on in the evening, a group of men could be seen setting a large double-decker bus ablaze using lighters, with it later being reduced to a charred wreck. Yes, folks, last night in Leeds was messier than Liz Truss's leaving do. So, is Britain becoming lawless? And next time this happens, should we bring in the military to keep order on the streets, Mike Parry?
Well, look, I'm an expert at riots. I did Toxteth, I did Moss Side, I did Brixton. I've done all the riots in this country. And do you know what? They're quite often...
Do you feel bad about starting all those riots?
Sorry?
Do you feel bad about starting all those riots?
I feel bad about being there.
Were you in a bad mood or what?
No, believe me, I'm the best dancer of petrol bombs you've ever seen. Dodging petrol bombs has become my...
You're probably reporting for the Express on the Sun and some of those papers, right?
Daily Express, probably, yeah. But look, the point I'm going to make is that you can bet your life in 2 days' time this will have gone away. And do you know why? Because this happened in a very poor district of Leeds, where integration between the various communities that have settled in that very poor neighbourhood just don't get on. And so they had this massive smash-up. But I tell you what, because it didn't happen in Camden or Islington or Kensington or anywhere in the South East, politicians will have forgotten about it by tomorrow.
Excuse me, it happened in Whitechapel.
Sorry?
It happened in Whitechapel. That's why there's extra police tonight.
Well, what I'm saying, this is in Leeds, the one we're talking about, right?
But you just said it didn't happen in London.
Well, what I'm saying is the incident last night happened in Leeds. Things have happened in London. Brixton, which I mentioned, happened in London.
Same thing last night in Whitechapel.
Right, OK.
On the same scale, Roger Gewolb?
Almost, yeah.
I mean, Mike's point is that the political elite will ignore what happens in the north.
Also, will they ignore anything that happens
anyway,
north of
we're
Watford?
ignoring your question, and the answer is the police had to run away. Yes, absolutely, soldiers on the street.
OK, Emma, time to bring in the military, to bring order into this country.
Yeah, we need to bring in the military if the police are completely unable to do their job. The police were running away. Their cars were being overturned and torched. But if this was a Tommy Robinson demonstration, do you think the police would have been quite so spineless? What is going on here? This phrase about policing by consent. What does that even mean?
Two-tier. Two-tier.
Yeah.
OK, folks, well, look, coming up, is it time for the BBC to axe scandal hit Strictly and in an important debating point? Is it too hot? We'll discuss that next.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Meghan Markle has reportedly finished filming her new show for Netflix. It aims to celebrate the joys of cooking, gardening, entertaining and friendship.
Yeah, this comes after Prince Harry's Netflix documentary, The Heart of Invictus, failed to hit the right note with viewers missing out on the top 10 in the streaming charts.
So, will this next venture be a success? Well, joining us now is royal commentator Kinsey Schofield.
I know I've talked to the both of you about Meghan Markle potentially running for president, so this feels like a bit of a dud to go from Meghan Markle running for president to Meghan Markle's Netflix series about friendship and cooking. So she's wrapped this recent show. They rented a home near hers in Montecito so that as their cooking set. And they're saying that this is really make or break for Harry and Meghan when it comes to their Netflix contract.
Do you think, Kinsey, it's fair to say that Meghan Markle has proved to be commercially a bit of a damp squib? Even in America, her native homeland, she's kind of Oprah without the audience when it comes to the cooking. Also, is she kind of, do you think... They saw her as the golden ticket, didn't they, to unlimited revenue, unlimited audiences, and it just hasn't happened.
Look, I think Meghan is a beautiful woman, and I do think she's talented, but I think how you treat people is incredibly important. And not only was she rumored to have been cruel inside Kensington Palace with several bullying allegations, but here in the States, Archwell Productions, their audio section, their scripted section, they've gone through several employees. And I think it's a reflection on the way that people are treated there. And I think as a viewer, you might get that. You might feel that way. And maybe that is where the appeal has been lost.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A third Strictly Come Dancing professional has reportedly been named as a person of interest in the wake of abuse and bullying allegations overshadowing the hit show. Graziano Di Prima, which I thought was a pizza, you know, olives, a little bit of spinach, was axed from the show last week over reports that he verbally and physically abused his celebrity partner Zara McDermott during last year's series. It came just weeks after Italian dancer Giovanni Pernice, real name Bob Stevens, was suspended while a BBC probe is conducted over claims of off-camera misconduct made by actress Amanda Abingdon and two other former celeb partners. So, with all of this scandal that just won't go away, is it time to axe what was the BBC's most popular show? Is it time to send Strictly foxtrotting off, Emma Wolfe?
Well, this blooming Strictly is meant to be such a family-friendly show, and what's coming out is really quite unpleasant. I mean, real, you know, kicking and bullying your partners, and there's something in sport and kind of elite athletes. I mean, there's these tennis players with these terribly unpleasant fathers who bully them and harass them.
But that's how they win, Emma Wolfe. That's how they win. And these dancing teachers, they're tough on Strictly because they get results.
Yeah, but this whole thing about the celebrities and the dance and the pros being such great mates and everything, I've always found it a little bit saccharine, a little bit too good to be true, I have to say. But I think it's gonna unravel quite quickly because a lot of people now are coming out.
I agree.
Roger, I just think they're a bunch of pathetic wallflowers. You know, if you're going to do a dance competition, it's going to be painful. There's going to be blood, sweat and tears. Sequins.
Up to a point. I think it's gone beyond that now. I think Emma's right. I think it's gone, yeah. You want to see a bit of that. You want to see that tough Olympic coach, and you want to see the young contestant. I can't go on. Oh, yes, I can.
One more foxtrot.
Yeah,
one more.
But kicking, you know, come on. I mean, that's a bit much.
Roger couldn't give a foxtrot. What do you think about this?
Well,
this is a children's program
I'm old enough to remember when it was called Come Dancing. Yeah. And I used to watch it at home with my mum. Loved the women in the old, you know, flowery dresses and all that.
Did it get you through puberty, Mike?
Well, I'm not sure about
Angela
that.
Rippon's legs.
This is a family show. Now,
he was blocked.
What I'm saying is, and Emma's touched on this, these are now elite dancers. They're right at the top of their profession.
Here.
And the people at the top of any profession, generally speaking, hate each other because they are all seeking to get the crown. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It happens in elite sport. It happens, do you remember, years ago, Radio 1, all the DJs, we're all friends and all that, they all hated each other.
I hear you've fallen out with a few radio colleagues.
Well, yeah, I have over time, actually.
How is Mike Graham these days?
Excuse me. No, we must not name names. What I'm saying is, when you realise that you're in an elite group, but you want to be the elite of the elite, you know what I mean? The best of the best, so they might say in Top Gun, you do start playing dirty.
Yeah.
And playing dirty means either trying to improve your circumstances or trying to disimprove the circumstances of others. And if you're dancing with somebody who's not up to it, you say, you're threatening my position as the top. And all
Emma, is the show in trouble?
Yes, definitely in trouble. Absolutely, definitely in trouble, because more and more people are coming out, the celebrity side of things, coming out about their experiences with the pros.
Roger, you've got lovely legs. Would you do Strictly?
Yes, absolutely, but I wouldn't kick anybody.
No, listen, can I just say I'd throw you around the floor anytime.
But speaking of lovely legs, what about yours? You're wearing some interesting shorts. Are we going to see them?
Yeah, well, let me tell you, the weather is very good today, so the knobbly knees are out in force.
Oh,
there you go. That's
stand up.
A little bit of a GB News exclusive.
COVID thing where you have your underpants on under your jacket.
There we are. And listen, I've confused Sam in the gallery, for which I apologise, and not just confused him. I think I've mentally scarred him as well. Really enjoy the company of Mike, Emma and Roger, folks. Please come back and see us soon. That is Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Every Friday from 8 till 9 when we try to kickstart the weekend, have a bit of a laugh as well. Mark Dolan's Night returns at 9 o'clock tomorrow and, of course, Sunday. Don't forget the Big Opinion, the Take at 10, Mark Meets and much, much more. But next up, the brilliant Patrick Christie's. Patrick, what have you got for us?
Oh, well, definitely not going to be getting my legs out this evening, but it's a fantastic show. I'm going to be talking about whether or not Keir Starmer's decision to give £84 million to parts of Africa is going to make a blind bit of difference when it comes to stopping the boats. Also, why were our police force and fire service too scared to act during the Leeds riots? There are rumours that the riots might kick-start again tonight. And is David Lammy right to give resources and money to an aid group that's been linked to Hamas? We've got all that and much more, Mark, including a story about people in a lovely little rural village being very worried about a sex festival that's taking place in their town.
Lord.
Well, listen, let me tell you, that's my hometown every night of the year. Patrick, we'll catch up soon. Looking forward to Patrick Christie's tonight from 9. Well done to the team. Maria on the other side of the glass as well, and Sam worked their socks off tonight. It's a bit too hot, isn't it? I'm absolutely furious. I blame these high temperatures on the new Labour government. That's why we're sweating, and that's why it was a big mistake to let them in. But if the weather is good this weekend and continues to do so, then I hope that you have a lovely time. So get some fizzy pop out, maybe a bottle of beer or something, and have a cracking weekend. I'm part of it. I'll see you tomorrow for Mark Dolan tonight. Patrick's next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account.